Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Seminar. Thank you so much for the support. Hope you all are doing great. Ah, sincerely speaking, I don't know how they made selection of people that are in power, especially when it comes to sensitive positions. Secretary of Education Linda McMahon, like, I don't know how she said the thing she said on live television, and that is really very silly. There is something about Black history, right? Black history is not something that is hidden. It's glaring in the sense that it is worldwide history, and it's something Black people are not keeping quiet about because slavery impacted Black people in so many ways, right? So this woman sat down on live broadcast to say what she said. So they were telling her about teaching Black history, right? And guess what she said? She said, yeah, it's okay to teach the history, like, Black history needs to be taught from both sides. Excuse me, what side are you talking about? Because at this point in time, it looks like I do not know or I do not understand Black history anymore. Which side are we talking about now? Let's get
So, what happens when the truly educated runs into the pseudo educated? Well, that's exactly what played out in the United States House of Representatives yesterday when People's Representative Summer Lee from Pennsylvania ran into the Secretary of Miseducation, the Secretary of Education appointed by Donald Trump. Yes, Summer Lee, the Democrat from Pennsylvania, was questioning Linda McMahon, the Secretary of Education, about education. Let's see how it played out.
Oh, thank you. I have a few other examples that I would like your thoughts on. Simple yes or no. If this is a legal DEI, an example, would you say that it would be an illegal DEI for a lesson plan on the Tulsa Race Massacre?
I'd have to get back to you on that.
Do you know what the Tulsa Race Massacre is?
I'd like to look into it more and get back to you on it.
Okay, so I look forward to that.
Maybe it's a bridge too far to talk about the Tulsa Race Massacre that happened in 1921 because, the corpse-colored crypt keeper here might not have been alive in 1921, even though she looks like she was alive in 1821. But speaking of bridges too far, what about Ruby Bridges?
Look forward to that. How about the book Through My Eyes by Ruby Bridges, for instance?
I haven't read that.
Have you learned about Ruby Bridges?
So if you have specific examples you'd like,
That was a specific example.
I'll be very happy.
It was an incredibly specific
example.
I named a
your
specific
questions, and I will look into it and get back to you on
Thank
them.
you. How about a school having a volunteer?
Let this sink in. Linda McMahon was born in 1948. She is 76 years old. She is the Secretary of Education, and she doesn't know who Ruby Bridges is or what she did on November the 14th, 1960. That also means that the Secretary of Education has no idea what Brown versus the Board of Education was all about. You can't make this up. We are in the upside down of the Twilight Zone. But Summer Lee chose to add a little icing to the cake during Pride Month.
Get back to you on
Thank
them.
you. How about a school having a voluntary celebration for Pride Month?
Well, I think that
Voluntary.
well, let's make sure that in our schools,
This is yes or no?
we're looking. No, it's not.
Okay. How about social studies standards?
Is Holocaust education a DEI program?
No.
Is African American studies a DEI program?
I think I answered that with one.
I'm asking it again.
Listen, we should
Just
be able,
yes or no.
we should be able to teach courses.
My
in their
point is they
entirety.
are DEI programs, both of them, because students need diversity, equity, and inclusion to understand their environments. So both.
One of the most disheartening things that you have to accept about U.S. politics is the role that money plays in it. And I guess this question of the Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon here, it kind of tells a story in two parts, right? Follow me. So first and foremost, the first one is that Linda McMahon, who kind of sort of doesn't answer all questions in the best of light and needs cards and things like that, no cards to kind of keep track of what she's supposed to be saying or not saying, is only in this role because she donated $10 million to the Trump campaign in 2024, right? You can sort of compare that as well with someone like Elon Musk, who now, I guess, they're going through their divorce, him and the MAGA movement or the Trump administration, donated, I believe, up to north of $75 million to the campaign. Okay, so there's that. Right? We could really solve a lot of our problems if we really just started working on money in U.S. politics. Next part, though, I find interesting. Now, we're talking Representative Hayes here, I guess kind of corners Lynn McMahon, and wants to talk about two groups' history, all right? And then we're supposed to call them minority groups. I'm well aware that Jewish groups can assimilate to whiteness in America. Like, I totally understand that concept, but it's kind of wishy-washy, right? It's still technically a minority group. So just work with me here. Now, because they demonized DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? And in any case, the way they can sell it to Americans, it's a new code word for the N-word. I've already told you guys that. But in places like, college admission, job placement, they, scream merit, 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 and try to basically apply it in a way that makes you believe, like, hey, you're not getting what you deserve because these colored folks, right, and this DEI thing is the big bad boogeyman. Well, I tell you guys all the time, just say it out loud. It's DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. So in our education system, this is a good question that Representative Hayes poses, right? Which is, hey, dog, our two minority groups talk about their history. It's part of history, right? Is this DEI? Is that diversity, equity, inclusion? But because of the role money plays in politics, she knows good and well, as she reads those cards, what she doesn't want to say about a certain group. And that's quite frankly, right? Like she knows that if she's and you can ask, and I mean this in good faith. Like I'm not trying to say this to be anti-Semitic or anything like that. I think if you ask the minority group that she's representing, the Jewish people as well, they would say the education about the Holocaust is important. It's part of history, it's part of World War II, etc. Right? And I think they would answer pretty fairly, and most sane ones were like the education of, let's say, maybe the civil rights era and how it affected African American people in the United States. It's also part of history. It's a story that should be told. Right? Plead fifth in. But because they've demonized that, right? They know that they can't now attach, you understand what I'm saying, to DEI. They've demonized DEI, so they can't attach something that belongs to that ethnic group to DEI. And what's kind of broken my mind, though, it's kind of weird, is that when we start talking about votes and things like that and what's important, I would think most people wouldn't want to offend any group, right? Because you want as many votes as possible. You want to be as popular with every group as possible. But it just reinforces the idea that when you start looking at like super PACs and things like that, and people that I guess mobilize really well with their money and their funds in campaign donations, you start seeing where our politicians, people in administrations, what they decide to prioritize. And I guess it's been leading to my next thing. I'm like, you know what? It's either we gonna, one, change how money works in U.S. politics, and or two, if you want change, just start starting your own PAC, right?
Linda McMahon says if we want to teach proper African American history, we need to make sure that we are teaching it from both sides. Here's my question. What exactly are both sides? We all know Black history, African American history in this country centers around our resilience, overcoming systemic racism, oppression, slavery. So what's the other side of that argument? What exactly are you trying to teach? Are you trying to get people to identify with the slave owners? Do you need them to understand where they were coming from when they decided to go to Africa and kidnap people to bring to this country and make them work against their will for no pay for hundreds of years? Is there a perspective you need on that? Or did they have good intentions with Jim Crow? Did they have good intentions with whites only bathrooms? Like, help me understand what both sides of African American history really are. Because despite how you all may feel, I'm sorry to say this, those soldiers who they turned into Confederate statues, they were not heroes. Those slave owners who they have named schools after in this country, they're not heroes. And that Confederate flag that you all talk about is a symbol of pride for the South. That's not what that is, okay? That is a symbol of people who wanted to uphold slavery in this country. So please, Linda McMahon, I ask you, tell me, what are both sides? What perspective do you think people really need to understand?
I'm sorry, but what exactly does Linda McMahon mean when she says that African American history needs to be taught as long as both sides are taught? What are both sides exactly, Linda? Also, if I see another wrestling fan come on here talking about Triple H ain't beating the allegations, that is her son-in-law. Yeah, Triple H is Linda McMahon's son-in-law, and he was literally sitting behind her when she started, going along with this guy's lies. So I would think if she's talking this way about our history, then yeah, he might have something against black talent. Also, some of y'all are crazy. Y'all wishing for Vince back as if he's not another billionaire that goes along with this. Like, see, what's going on in the government right now is that they're trying to get their own no rhythm having version of drumline going. One band, one sound. Everybody does the same things. So if the government is posting a mostly white agenda, what do you think these companies, also based in America, are going to do? I feel like I'm talking to myself when I say this. Like, it shouldn't be that complicated. This is exactly what I'm talking about when I say it's not just politics anymore. See, eventually the aim is to where it's not politics. It's just your life. That means at some point y'all gonna have to make a choice. Y'all want to sit there and remain blissfully ignorant to it? Or do you want to acknowledge what's happening and try to do something about it? Because you can't have it both ways.
This is all I got from this video. And see, I'm sure I don't know, but it looks like, they know the people that are they selected, or the people that they picked to work with, are all the same, because this is actually manipulating at this point in time. Tell me how that woman, Secretary of Education, and it looks like she doesn't even know majority of the things that happen in United States. Like, they asked her about Tulsa, Oklahoma, and she was like, she needs to look into that. So, see, I am not laughing like laughing, but it's laughable. Is it not? Now, what both side does she want to hear? I mean, they are talking about African American history, and she's like, if they have to teach the both side, which particular side is she talking about? Oh my goodness. When you think you've seen it all, then you find out that these people do not have ending and beginning. Like, anything can happen at any time. Because at this point in time, I am in shock. Okay, I don't think I may be surprised, but not in shock, because man, they keep shocking me every time. Like, at every point in time they just have to shock themselves, from both sides. What? Oh jeez, I am so sorry, but I am screaming because I don't know how I mean, it sounds really very silly to hear this. And it's I love the way Big Brother said, when the truly educated meets the pseudo educated, you all can see how the people that are in government, the people that are representing you, the people that they said that These are the people that are represented, especially in education, doesn't even know anything that it's going on, or that doesn't even know the history. So if you ask her now, what does she, oh geez, unfortunately, it's quite unfair that the people that are not qualified to be in some positions are actually in some positions, making life really hard for people. This is not just only happening, but like I am focusing on United States because at this point in time, you know, education is something you just don't wake up to appoint anybody. It's something you wake up to. I mean, you sit down to think properly to appoint Secretary of Education, not just any other person, every other person. But this particular one, it is glaring that he just picked anybody to just represent him there. And what's not the essence of putting people that cannot perform in a position? It's like taking people back. Because at this point in time, she is taking people back. Man, it really sucked, but it is what it is. I am still trying to know from both sides. Maybe, I mean, like black people also enslaved them, that you need to also hear from them. Maybe black people also came to United States and took them back to maybe we need to hear their own side. Bye for now.